Tarot reader. That's me, the Irish Gypsy. I'm going to be doing general monthly forecasts for each of the 12 zodiac signs. I'll be using the Gilded Tarot deck. Sorry about the glare. I love the vividness of the color and the imagery in these cards. I'm going to be pulling 8 cards for the month for each reading, 2 cards for each week. And these are general readings, so they may not apply or resonate deeply with everyone, although I hope everyone that watches them gets something positive from them. And if you'd like something a little more personal and a little more in-depth, I do love to do general readings for people. So if you click on the About button at the bottom of the screen, it'll give you a little more detail about who I am, the services I offer, and my contact information. And I thank those of you ahead of time who will be watching and listening and subscribing to this channel. Your support and feedback is deeply appreciated and most welcome, so thank you for that. So let's get started. We begin with Aries for the month of November 2015. I pre-shuffle the cards before each and every reading, but I like to go through the last little bit of the shuffle while I'm actually recording for you. And I will hold up each card as I'm going through it with you, hopefully at the right angle, since it's like trying to navigate in a mirror. It looks a little differently from my side than it does from yours. So Aries, what does the month of November hold for you? My lovely rambunctious ram. Aries, the child of the zodiac. What does the month of November 2015 hold for you? Okay, for the first week, we have the Four of Cups, followed by the Eight of Swords. For the second week, we have the Seven of Pentacles, followed by the King of Wands. For the third week, we have the Four of Wands, followed by the Five of Swords. For the fourth week, we have the Two of Swords, followed by the Four of Swords. And for the overall theme or feeling of the month, I pull the card from the bottom of the deck, and you have the King of Pentacles. Now, Aries, the first thing I'm noticing about your reading is that you have a lot of sword cards, swords being the suit that represents thought, intellect, logic, ways of thinking. So it looks like you're going to be a bit in your head this month. So let's put the story together. I apologize ahead of time if there's any long pauses during the reading. It just simply means that I'm studying the cards to see what feelings and impressions I get. As those of you who are readers know, sometimes the messages come in very quickly and clearly, and sometimes it takes a minute or two to put it all together for you. So we begin the month with the Four of Cups, which, trying to get the angle right here. I like to look at the Four of Cups kind of as the boredom card. It shows a young man reclining in the glass. He has 3 goblets on the ground next to him, and another one is being offered to him from a hand out of the sky, and he looks completely disinterested in both what he has and in what is being currently offered to him. In fact, it appears that the little animals in the grass and the tree around him are more interested in what he has than he is. So perhaps you're coming into the month of November, I think, feeling a sense of dissatisfaction with your life. Perhaps you're at a place that you are wondering, has it all been worth it? It looks like you feel like you're just not happy with where you're at. This card also suggests that the actual definition of this card is someone who is on a quest for perfection, a kind of a perfection that doesn't really exist. So perhaps you're at a place in your life where you're dissatisfied with your life, and it's time to examine maybe what your idea of happiness really is, what your idea of success really is. This card is accompanied by the Eight of Swords, another card of the thoughts. It shows a woman in the center of 8 swords. She is blindfolded and she has chains wrapped around her wrist. But if you look a little closer, you can see that she could easily free herself simply by twisting her wrist. The chains would fall off and she could remove her own blindfold. This is a card about being, again, it's a sword card. It's a card about being bound by your own thoughts. Um, this is not something that's reflecting in your environment around you. So this is about being held hostage and being chained by your own thoughts or by a way of thinking. And as this is the accompanying card to the Four of Cups, it suggests to me that in the month of November, you've reached a place in your life where you're just feeling generally dissatisfied, that you haven't reached the place in your life where you think you should. Um, and it seems like this is coming from a way of thinking, perhaps um, a definition of happiness and success you have for your life that might not be grounded in reality, and therefore something that always keeps you searching. You always are something you're always chasing for, an idea of perfection that isn't realistic, and something that you feel bound to, um, and something that I think causes you uh, an internal sense of unhappiness and a lack of fulfillment in your life. Going into the second week of November, and I might add too that there's no definitive beginning and ending to these cards. This represents a general state of mind or a situation that you may be dealing with at the end of October going into November and bleeding into December as well. So in the second week of November, we have the Seven of Pentacles. And the Seven of Pentacles is a card that represents reflection on the harvest that has arrived. Pentacles are a suit that represents the physical, tangible things in your environment, typically finances, resources, assets, property, things of those nature, things that are tangible, things that can be seen and felt. Um, and this is a card that asks the question, has what I put into this been worth it? You've obviously planted some seeds. You have put some effort into something, your life, perhaps your way of life, your way of living, and the harvest has come and you're looking at it and trying to gauge if the end has justified the means. Has what you've invested in it paid off and what you feel you're getting back? And this card is accompanied by the King of Wands, which I always look at the King of Wands as the Aries card. I think this is a manifestation of you, Aries. Wands being, the element of Wands being fire or air. Um, the King of Wands represents someone who has perhaps an older, more mature and reflective person who has someone who's a very strong-willed, fiery individual. On the negative side, can perhaps be a little too controlled, a little too driven, a little too bossy, um, maybe a little too impetuous, as Aries you sometimes can be, the fire sign that you are. Uh, this card, the King of Wands, also represents a man who is somewhat impatient, who um, is not really paying much attention to his environment or the things around him. He's sitting in his throne a little restlessly, and which would fit you, Aries, because I think that Aries, more than any other of the zodiac signs, I think are the most restless of the zodiac. Always looking, always seeking out, always searching for something. And that's what this King of Wands appears to be doing as well. He's looking off in the distance. He's holding his rod rather loosely, as if he's not really interested. He's not really interested in his kingdom. He's not really paying much attention to the things around him, to what he's built up. And I think this is kind of echoing the general feel of this reading so far, Aries, of um, the dissatisfaction you're feeling generally in your life in the month of November. In the third week, we have the Four of Wands, which is a lovely card. I always like to look at this card as the happy home card. It depicts a man and a woman and a child standing in the center of some staffs, and they're crowned by a wreath of flowers. It's a lovely day. There's bunny rabbits in the grass and a dragonfly hovering in the air above them. This is a card. Um, this is a card that's saying uh, you've you've worked really hard to build up a pretty good life. This is a card of saying that it's time to stand back and take a look around and take a sense of satisfaction and fulfillment in the things that you have, because it looks like you've built up a pretty good life for yourself. Maybe you have that happy home and family, or even if you don't have a family, you've obviously invested a great deal of time and effort into building to what looks to be a pretty comfortable way of living for yourself. This is a card that's saying it suggests that this is not a time to be dissatisfied with your life, but this is a time for acknowledgement and appreciation and gratitude for the things that you have. And this card is accompanied by the Five of Swords. Now, the Five of Swords is technically a victory card, although it represents a shallow victory. It shows a man who's obviously just been through a battle. He has overcome his opponents. His enemies are either dead or obviously defeated in the grass behind him. He has gathered up all of their weapons and is holding his own sword aloft in victory. But if you look a little closer, this battle has cost him. He doesn't look particularly happy or victorious. He looks weary. He looks tired. He looks sad, resigned. He's bleeding from a little cut on his forehead. This battle has obviously cost him. And this card asks the question, is it worth it? Has it been worth it? What has really been gained and what has been lost in the pursuit of this? What have you learned? Has the end justified the means in this? And as it accompanies the Four of Wands, I think this is perhaps what you're asking yourself, Aries. And I think, again, it goes along with the general feeling of this reading so far, which is you're being at a place where you just feel like you're not happy and you're not really quite sure why you're not happy, because it looks like you have the things around you to have a comfortable physical life. Now, in the last week of the month, we have the Two of Swords, followed by the Four of Swords. Now, the Two of Swords is a card of choice, of being at a crossroads. The woman in this card is blindfolded. She has a choice to make, or she feels she has a choice to make, and you have a choice to make, and you're not quite sure what path to take. You are feeling generally dissatisfied with your life. Maybe you feel like it's time you should do something else with your life and you just don't know what to do. Or perhaps you have two clear choices. Perhaps you're no longer satisfied with your career. Perhaps, although the general feeling I get, Aries, is that this sense of dissatisfaction is more generalized for you. I don't get the impression that it's particularly aimed at your career, although it could be. This reading could mean different things for different people. It is only a general reading. But you feel like you're at a crossroads of some kind, that you feel restless, that it's time to make some kind of decision about doing something different with your life, that you're not happy, and that you don't know why you're not happy. This card is accompanied by the Four of Swords, which shows a man laying in bed with his hand close by his sword and three others pointing down at him. This is a card of rest, actually, of contemplation and meditation. This card gives the advice that in this situation, perhaps it's time for you to take a step back, to remove yourself from whatever this situation that you're facing is, or try to find a way in the middle of it to have some time to contemplate and to meditate and to go within. This is a card that strongly suggests connecting with your spiritual center or your spiritual foundation, or seeking out counsel, maybe from someone that you see as having a good spiritual foundation, perhaps a pastor or a priest or a counselor or a close trusted friend. And if you don't, Aries, have what you feel is a connection to the divine, or whatever you feel comfortable with in terms of uh, spiritual center, or something greater than yourself, something that makes you feel more connected to the universe. Perhaps what this reading is suggesting is that it's time to find that, to find something that makes you feel more fulfilled, that makes you feel happy. Perhaps you're at a place in your life where You have a fair amount of wealth, that you have a comfortable a physically comfortable life, but you're feeling empty. This reading suggests that strongly, and I'm getting a bit of a tingle on this, that it's almost as if you've reached a point where you're like, well, I have all this, so what's it really all about? It's nice, but somehow I feel like something's missing. I still have an empty place inside, and this empty place is constantly driving you, or has in your life been constantly driving you from one thing to another, perhaps from one job to another, perhaps from one relationship to another, always seeking something that maybe doesn't really exist, or you don't have a definitive idea of what it is, you can't ever really reach it. This reading is asking you, Aries, I think, to take a look at what your idea of happiness is. Perhaps this idea of perfection, perhaps this way of thinking that you've been operating under, being actually chained and bound to, is actually blocking you from feeling truly happy. And Aries, this reading also suggests that it's time to go deeper, that it's time to find some kind of connection to spirit, to the divine, to the universe, to God, um, that will give you more of a balance in your life and put you on the path to feeling that sense of wholeness, that sense of happiness within, that sense of I am exactly where I need to be, and I'm exactly where I want to be, and I feel fulfilled and connected to myself, to the people around me, and to the universe in general. The theme card that I pulled for you is the King of Pentacles. This is the card represents the overall feeling and theme of the month. And this is a man who, again, it echoes the general reading of this, the general feel of this reading. The King of Pentacles is a man who has reached a place in his life where he has a great deal of abundance or wealth. He has reached a comfortable, he has a comfortable lifestyle. He's invested quite a bit, or been lucky enough um, uh, to have he's invested a lot of work in his life, and he's reached a point where he has it. He has, perhaps you have the nice home or the nice condo and the nice vehicle, and um, and you have a life that, for all intents and purposes, from the outside looking in, looks to be fairly comfortable. He's a person who's reached the pinnacle. He has everything at his fingertips he needs to have a comfortable life, but somehow, Aries, that's not enough. Somehow you're still feeling uh, you're still feeling that empty place inside of you. You're still feeling as if it's just not enough. It's never enough. The grass is always greener on the other side, and yet when you get there, it's not as green as you thought. But there's a patch over there. Perhaps if I go over there, that'll be what I want. That'll be what I need. Maybe if I buy this thing, or if I go to that job, it'll make me happier. Or if I leave this relationship and go somewhere else, that'll be the thing that puts it together for me. Aries, and again, I'll end with this. I think this reading is telling you, suggesting to you that it's time for you to take a look at what's really going to make you happy and fulfilled in your life, and to seek out some counsel from someone who is coming from a place of a strong spiritual foundation, and it's time to either connect for the first time, or to reconnect with some kind of um, with some kind of spirituality, some kind of relationship with the divine, or something that makes you feel connected uh, in a way that goes a lot deeper than just the things that we can see and touch and feel around us. Perhaps if you're a person that used to pray and no longer do, perhaps it's time to try that again. Perhaps if somewhere along the road to your life you had faith in God, or faith in whatever it was your connection to spirituality was, and somehow you've lost that faith, perhaps it's time to explore that again and get to a place where you feel whole and connected and happy, way down deep. So Aries, I hope that you've enjoyed this reading. I hope that you've gotten something out of it. It seems like this is going to be a contemplative sort of month for you, a month of asking yourself, what does it really mean for me to be happy? And, you know, where where do I need to be in order to feel fulfilled? And maybe it's time to reach out to the divine again and reconnect and recharge and put yourself back on the path to being happy. So Aries, I hope you have a lovely November, and I look forward to seeing you again in December. I wish you blessings and a happy life. Bye.